Hello friends, I am Dr. Amit Kumar Shukla, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Arya Mahila PG College, Chittganj, Varanasi, affiliated to Banaras Hindu University. Today I am going to talk about Chaucer as a representative poet of 14th century and how Chaucer contributed in 14th century England or Middle Ages. Chaucer symbolizes Middle Ages. He stands much in the same relation to the life of his time as Pope does the earlier phases of the 18th century and Tennyson to the Victorian age. In the prologue, Chaucer has given a realistic picture of 14th century society and religion. The prologue is in fact a cross section of English life in the contemporary era. Chaucer, like a true literary artist, holds mirror to the life of his times. Before him, the writers were lost in the world of dreams and allegories. Chaucer is an unerring master of poetic form, combining the well-proportioned grace of his French models and the pentameter rhyming couplet of his later works. And now Chaucer's literary career. So Chaucer's literary career has been divided into three periods. These three periods show different influences on Chaucer's poetic faculties. These periods are as follows. So the first period is known as French period. The second period is Italian period. And the third and final period is English period. So now I would like to discuss the first period, that is French period, in detail. Chaucer's first period was of French influence. It includes his early work, which is based largely on French models, especially the Roman de la Rose. It is an elaborate allegory. In it, there is a dream setting of love. A rose grows in a mystic garden protected by a symbolic power. Chaucer's chief works during this time were the Book of the Duchess, an allegorical elegy written in 1369 on the death of Valence, the wife of John of Gaunt, and a partial translation of the Roman de la Rose. Now the second period, and that is Italian period. So in this period, Chaucer visited Italy in 1372, and this was a turning point in his literary career. During this time, his works were modeled primarily on Dante and Boccaccio. Chaucer brought the impact of the new intellectual forces into his poetry, and it was a reorientation of the medieval outlook. For after all, Chaucer does not discard medieval culture and scholastic learning. The House of Fame, the Parliament of Fowls, which talks about the mating of fowls on St. Valentine's Day, and a prose translation of Boethius' De Consolation Philosophy. At the end of this period, Chaucer wrote his longest poem, Troilus and Cresside, a love poem that he adapted from Boccaccio's El Filostretto. Now the third period, and that is the final period or English period. Chaucer's third period was a period of mature strength, and originally he pursued the bent of his own genius. During this period, Chaucer wrote masterpiece, or you can say the magnum opus, the Canterbury Tales, and the idea of writing this poem was borrowed from Boccaccio's Decameron. Chaucer gives a microcosm of the English society in the Prologue. Dryden rightly observed about Prologue, and he says, "Here is God's plenty. All classes of people are here represented except the highest and the lowest." According to the Prologue to the Canterbury Tales, the 14th century English society could be broadly divided into three groups. So, these three groups are as follows, and the first one is people representing agricultural, feudal and chivalric class. Second is people associated with church and religion. Third group is people representing various trades and professions who were the symbols and growing urbanization in medieval England. So, the first group, that is chivalry, feudalism and agriculture, here I would like to discuss in detail. Chaucer's England was predominantly medieval in spirit. The most outstanding feature of the Middle Ages was chivalry. The chivalric spirit of the age of Chaucer is represented by the knight, the squire and yeoman. The knight represents the fading chivalry of the Middle Ages. He has fought as many as mortal battles as for the defense of religion. Here two lines are from the original text regarding knight, and I would like to repeat these lines. At mortal battles had he been 15, and fought for our faith at Tremesine. And the next character in it, the squire, and the squire is representative of newly emerging chivalrous spirit. Being a young man, he cherishes youthful feelings of love, song and dance. So, two lines are also applicable for this character, and again I would like to repeat these lines, and the lines are, well could he sit on the horse and fair ride, he could songs make and well endowed. And another character is from this group, and that is the yeoman. Yeoman is a sincere servant of the knight. The franklin and the reeve are also representative of age-old feudalism. The franklin holds lands for his lord, but more probably in his own right. The reeve acts as a manager and makes full use of his power for his own profit. The plowman is the lowest in the feudal hierarchy. He is a sincere laborer of the fields. Now, the next group, and that is the ecclesiastical class, means the class that is associated to church and religion. Chaucer's 8 pilgrims represent the ecclesiastical class, and also a clerk of Oxford, a scholar of philosophy and moral virtues. The religious class contains the prioress, her chaplain, the monk, the friar, the parson, the summoner, the pardoner and many more. With the exception of the clerk of Oxford and the parson, the rest of characters represent the decaying religious conditions and the corruption of the church of 14th century England. Now, I would like to give a detailed account of these above characters. Those are associated to church and religion. So, the first is the prioress. Prioress is an affected nun who cares more about refined manners than charity and austerity. The monk is worldly than religious. He pursues the pleasures of senses instead of leading a retired and holy life like a priest. He possesses grey hounds for hunting the hare against the religious norms. Here two lines are applicable for this character, and that is the monk. So here I would like to repeat these lines, and the lines are: greyhounds he had, as swift as fowl in flight, of pricking and of hunting for the hare. And another character from this group is the friar. The friar, instead of being poor, is rich, and instead of being ascetic and self-denying, is wanton and merry fellow. He is acquainted more with rich women and barmaids than with the poor and the sick. Another character is the summoner, and the summoner argues that so long as a person he has money, and he needs not fear the curse of archdeacon. He was such a corrupt man that he would allow for money and wine. So two lines are also applicable for this character, and those have been taken from the original text, and I would like to repeat: a good fellow to have his concubine, a 12-month, and excuse him elful. And the next character is in this group the pardoner. Pardoner used to grant pardon for a large sum of money. Thus, with flattery, deception, and cunningness, he won the position of a noble dignitary of the church. He is a hateful parasite to ensure the sinners a seat in heaven by paying hard cash in penitence for their sins. Another character is the parson. The parson is the type of true shepherds of the church. He is poor in this world's goods, but rich in holy thoughts and work. And the third group is the trade and the other professions. So the trade is represented by the merchant, the working class, by the miller, the carpenter, and the dyer. The medical profession is represented by the doctor of physic, who is greedy and highly materialistic. And the two lines are applicable for doctor of physic. Those are from the original text, and I would like to repeat these. For gold in physic is a cordial. Therefore, he loved gold in special. A doctor was supposed to be grounded in astrology, because the stars and planets wield their influence on the health of the people. The other professions are represented by the shipman. The spirit of new learning is represented by the clerk of Oxford. And this is the main third point, and that is a reference to various contemporary events. It means here Chaucer gives some other different kind of contemporary events regarding that age, means 14th century. Besides the people belonging to the various classes of society, Chaucer has referred various contemporary events and social conditions. The most important event was the Black Death, and that is plague, which struck in England 4 times and caused tremendous loss of lives. Chaucer also throws light on the inadequacy of medical science, which used to depend more on astrology than on medical diagnosis and treatment. There are also the references to the food habits of the people. The monk loves a roasted swan. The franklin always keeps his table ready with cooked partridge and fish. The summoner loves garlic and onion. The pilgrims have a special love for gold and wealth, which shows the growing commercialism and materialistic greed of the people in general and the religious class particular. Now, I also would like to give the specific feature of Chaucer's writing, and that is humor, irony and satire. Chaucer is regarded as a first great humorist, perhaps the greatest besides Shakespeare. His humor, in fact, is no momentary gleam which serves as a comic relief in the otherwise gloomy, pensive and melancholic atmosphere, but it is born of strong common sense and a generous sympathy. It is not a mere drollery of buffoons or savagery of a satirist, but it is a healthy device to penetrate into the human heart. For the first time, we have the humor which is the soul and essence of the artist and his art. Chaucer's object of humor is to study the hidden feelings and unconscious motives of the human machines. John Masefield rightly called Chaucer a great Renaissance gentleman mocking at the Middle Ages. And here how anyone can have that his humor is all pervasive. So the thread of the honest and kindly humor runs through all the comic as well as tragic narratives, alike in the Canterbury Tales. It is kindly and patronizing humor in the case of Clerk of Oxford, broad and semi-farcical in the Wife of Bath, pointedly satirical in the Pardoner and Summoner, coarse humor in the Tale of Miller and Reeve. So here is, you can have a detailed description of such related humor in different characters. Thank you.